Is that all right for everyone? Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to cover today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about legal aid, who we are, what we do, how we can be contacted, and I'll just go through our natural disaster legal response and talk a little bit about how we can help and just give a couple of case studies. So Legal Aid Western Australia is the largest legal assistance service in Western Australia. We have over 300 staff and 8 physical regional offices, as well as our Perth CBD office, which is where I'm presenting from today. So probably the most relevant to this audience would be our Geraldton office, which is down on Foreshore Drive. So the Geraldton office is happy for people to attend there. They won't always be able to get assistance directly from the lawyers in the Geraldton office in relation to the natural disasters, but they will certainly facilitate assistance through to our Perth office. So legal aid can be contacted in a number of ways. We have an info line open to all members of the public, and they can be contacted to arrange legal appointments or simply for the provision of legal information. Appointments are available for criminal, civil and family law. So we can also be contacted by email. The best email address is the naturaldisasters@legalaid.wa.gov.au, and that is monitored throughout the year, so it can be used even when a natural disaster has happened quite a while ago. We have an info chat which is staffed from 9 AM to 4 PM from Monday to Friday. So if you're having to wait on the info line, you can jump onto the website and have a chat to a staff member on the info chat. We also have online resources which can be accessed at any time. We have a number of information sheets in relation to natural disasters. I have just noticed actually that we've got the floods and the bushfires, but we don't specifically have the information sheets in relation to cyclones, but a lot of that information is highly relevant. We also have the general natural disaster information sheets in relation to debt, property and renting. So Legal Aid has a natural disaster legal response plan, which we put into action whenever there is a natural disaster in Western Australia. So this involves assessing the legal needs of the affected communities, activating a legal response team, liaising with the State Welfare Emergency Committee, the relevant local government authority, as well as the Law Society of WA. We involve the Law Society of WA as they do engage with private practitioners to provide pro bono assistance to victims of natural disasters. So Legal Aid does keep a lot of the work in-house, but on certain occasions it might be appropriate to refer it out to a private practitioner who will assist on a pro bono basis, and that is for free. We also establish referral pathways with other services, and we mobilise our staff to attend evacuation centres and provide immediate legal assistance. We also provide ongoing legal assistance when the need arises. Another key objective is to identify systemic issues that may need to be addressed in law or policy. So in relation to Cyclone Seroja, Legal Aid did have staff up in the evacuation centres subsequent to the cyclone. We were in lockdown at the time of the cyclone, so there was some delay, but certainly as soon as we could get our staff up to Geraldton and Kalbarri, we did so as soon as we could. So how can Legal Aid help? At first instance, we can provide legal information and referrals. We provide legal advice appointments for initial legal advice, and we can then provide minor assistance and advocacy services where appropriate. So that may be if a client needs assistance, for example, lodging a dispute with AFCA, if they can't, or if they have barriers to doing that themselves, we can assist them with that. Or it may be doing some negotiations with a neighbour over a fence. So it really could look like anything. So as I've just sort of said, the issues that come to Legal Aid after natural disasters are varied, and you know, we always get issues which we haven't seen before, but we can identify generally the issues that we assist with, and the vast bulk of the requests for assistance are with insurance claim. However, we also see people in financial hardship. It may be that the natural disaster affects their ability to pay their mortgage or other debts, and they end up in financial hardship. So Legal Aid is able to assist with financial hardship issues, and we also do referrals to financial counsellors. Dividing fences is an issue that routinely comes up after a natural disaster, and employment law is another area where we often have quite a high demand for advice. And that may be people who can't go to work due to the natural disaster, or their place of work has been affected by the natural disaster and is unable to open. Replacing important documents like birth certificates, etc., is also something that Legal Aid assists with. Okay, so some common disputes that we see. I know Chris in his AFCA presentation went through the AFCA approach to a lot of these disputes, so I won't spend too much time on them. But we do see a lot of issues around cleanup costs, and that may be what is covered in your insurance policy in relation to the removal of debris. So it might be that your insurance contract covers building debris, but not trees or plants. and you might have a lot of trees strewn over your property, and the insurer may refuse to pay to remove them. Underinsurance is a common issue that we see. And of course, an insurer is only obliged to pay out, what the client is covered for. However, they are under an obligation to provide clear information before the client enters into the insurance contract as to their level of insurance. Occasionally, we also see overinsurance, where a client has deliberately over-insured their property to give them a bit of a buffer, and the insurer will only pay out the actual loss. This is often a case of clients misunderstanding that the insurer is not obliged to pay out, the amount that they have overinsured. Contents insurance. We have had a number of issues with insurers requiring clients to provide a list of contents for a total loss. And in our view, that's entirely inappropriate, that they would put a client through, that stress when there's been a total loss. They should be paying out the entire amount of the content component of the policy. So the other issue that we see that comes up quite a lot is the mortgage payouts, where the insurer insists on paying out someone's mortgage instead of paying them the cash settlement. So a lot of clients get upset about this because the likelihood of them getting a new home loan is minimal in certain circumstances. So they want their mortgage to continue, and they don't want the involvement of their mortgage provider. Chris mentioned the issue of delay, and of course legal aid will assist with this. Fence disputes, and that is really disputes between neighbours. Occasionally issues come up with the fence being on Crown land, and the Crown not being obliged to pay for half the fence. So some issues do come up around fence disputes. Excess is another issue that comes up, and it may be the insurer is refusing to pay a claim unless the client comes up with the excess up front. And again, that in our view is entirely unreasonable. And lastly, the issue of whether to pay out or rebuild, and I won't go into that too much, as Chris was quite thorough in his explanation of it. So just to make you aware, there is a general insurance code of conduct, and insurers do have to comply with this code. This code provides for timeframes for processing claims. It gives a right of review. If you settled your claim quickly within a month with your insurer, it gives you a right of review for 12 months from settling that claim. And that's really important. It means, at a time when you were very stressed and unsettled, it gives you the opportunity to go back and review that to reassess whether the settlement was appropriate. The code also provides the right to fast-track claims when you can show financial hardship, and it also deals with complaints and referring matters to AFCA. So when should you contact legal aid? Well, the answer really is anytime that you feel you want to talk to someone about your dispute, we can give preliminary advice regarding making an insurance claim. So that could be before you've even made the claim and you want someone to have a look at your policy to tell you what you are covered for. Or it may be once you have lodged an insurance claim and you're unhappy with the outcome. If you are concerned about being able to pay your mortgage, or you are behind in repayments, you can contact Legal Aid for assistance. And generally, just when it becomes apparent that a dispute has arisen, for example, you've got all your fencing with your neighbour down and you've been contacting your neighbour to discuss it and they're deliberately not responding to you. Okay, I just want to go through a case study. There were many I could draw on, but I felt particularly sorry for this gentleman. He approached Legal Aid for assistance when part of his home was destroyed by a natural disaster. So it wasn't a total loss, but a significant part of his property was damaged. So the client was a cabinet maker, and in the over 20 years that he had lived in his property, he had carefully carved out and maintained the furniture and fittings in his house. So he put in an oak ceiling and Jarrah floorboards throughout this quite large house. And he basically spent his weekends over the 20-year time frame. He spent all of his weekends doing cabinetry and tending to this property, which he described as a labour of love. So when the property was damaged, he claimed on his insurance, and the insurance offer to settle was significantly below the amount needed to replace all of this gentleman's hard work on tending to his property. So Legal Aid contacted the insurer and asked that it consider the intricacy of the woodwork at the property when settling the claim. So the insurer asked for photos and a list of materials used by the client at the property, which we provided, and we were able to negotiate with the insurer an increased settlement offer that the client was satisfied with, that reflected all of the hard work that had been lost over the last 20 years. So just before I finish, I just want to make everyone aware that there are other service providers that can provide assistance, including Regional Alliance West in Geraldton and the Geraldton Financial Counselling Service. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I will hand back to the Honourable Sandra Carr.